G'day guys, Will here, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a pretty detailed look at Assetto Corsa Competizione. So this software reached its not final release but full release state a couple of days ago now, and I actually purchased it about 3 days ago, so I didn't really get a good chance to use it in its early release or sort of beta phases, but I have had a bit of a chance to play with it over the last couple of days. And as per a lot of the comments and stuff that I've been seeing in Facebook groups, there are a few pretty serious issues with this software, unfortunately, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a pretty awesome game. So today we're going to jump in, we're going to take a look, we'll have a look at the interface, we'll have a look at the issues that I'm talking about as well, and let you know exactly where that is so that you can make a call as to whether this is something that you want to invest in. But yeah, the main point of this video is to show you, I guess from a first impression sort of perspective, what it's like to drive, what the graphics are like, what the force feedback's like, what the motion is like as well, because we are using a Next Level Racing motion platform here. So it should be a pretty interesting video for any of you guys who are maybe perhaps thinking about buying this software, whether it's something that you want to invest in or whether you're going to skip over it. So let's jump in and take a look. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is just quickly run you through the interface, because it is quite different from what you might be used to from Assetto Corsa. It's more like a sort of AAA style game in terms of its interface. It's not quite so clunky in terms of, you know, bolt-ons here and menus hidden all over the place and things like that. Now that's either something that you'll love or hate, and it's really a personal preference thing, but this definitely comes across immediately as more of, I guess, a polished and finished product. It doesn't have that sort of raw simulator kind of feel that that you get with Assetto Corsa. So love it or hate it, that's the way it is. But you can see here we've got a few different options here. Obviously multiplayer, which is an important one, and I'm going to come back and do another video on the multiplayer experience specifically a little bit later on. I think it's a little bit beyond the scope of this video. I want to focus on sort of more the physics and the graphics in this particular video. So first of all, we'll have a quick look at the configuration options that are available under the options menu. So under video, you've got all your basic settings here for, you know, graphics and things like that. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. We don't need to go into a whole lot of detail here, but there is a lot of customization that you can do here for your settings, particularly around, you know, draw distance and things like that. And that's something that's going to be really important if you don't have a high-spec PC, because this, using the Unreal Engine, is very, very, very resource hungry. And I'm finding with I've got an 8086K processor running at 5.2 gigahertz with a 1080 Ti running at 2 gigahertz. So pretty high-end system, and I'm having to run at sort of medium to high graphics to run at my massive resolution here, which is, what is it, 10440 by 1440 resolution. So even with a relatively high-end system, if you're using 4K, 5K or 8K VR goggles, or a triple screen setup like me with a 10440 by 1440 resolution like I'm running here, you are going to need a pretty high-end machine to run this at full graphics. So it's great that they give you lots of options here to crank things down and sort of fine-tune it to your preference. But we'll jump out of that quickly now. Audio, you can adjust all the various different channels here, pretty self-explanatory, don't need to go into a whole lot of detail here. Controls, we've got our profiles for all the various different popular racing wheels and things like that. You can see I've got my CLUBSPORT wheelbase 2.5 is being detected here. And you've got a lot of customization around force feedback. Now I'm still dialing in my settings here. I will share in the description below the settings that I'm using currently, but I'll also update in the comments later on once I've had a chance to fine tune things a little bit more. I'm pretty happy with where things are at the moment. But yeah, definitely finding force feedback is something that is really, really particularly good with this title, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We've got a lot of adjustment here for force feedback, presets and things like that, as well as obviously customization for the various controls. We don't need to look at that in too much detail. You get the idea. It's pretty much the same as any other sim racing title. You can set and assign buttons for pretty much everything. So under general, we've got some options for language, intro sequence, D-Box and Fanatec LEDs. The Fanatec LEDs do work really well in this title. Replay settings, highlight settings and things like that. Assists, we've got gearbox adjustment, engine start, wipers, lights, pit limiter, stability control and ideal racing line. So I've got all my basic stuff set to automatic at the moment, with the exception of stability control and ideal line. Obviously my gearbox is manual as well, but we can fine tune those. There's also some profiles there for beginner and expert, things like that as well. Now onto HUD. Now HUD is an area that I have had a couple of issues with triple screens, and I'll explain that a little bit later once we hit the track. But you've got your basic adjustments here for the various different elements that you want to have displayed on the screen, as well as your units. pretty standard stuff that you'd find in most sims. Okay, so enough chit chat about the menu and UI system, stuff like that. Now we do have a pretty comprehensive career mode, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. But the first thing I want to do is just jump into a practice session here so you can see what the actual track is like, what the graphics are like and stuff like that. And then we'll talk more about the experience of actually driving. So we'll start off a session here. I'm going to choose the McLaren because it's the car that I'm the most familiar with. And that will do for now. So you can see there we've got quite a nice little range of cars there to choose from. Now one thing that I do want to show you quickly here is just the amount of customization that you have available in terms of weather and things like that. You can choose between clear, cloudy, light rain, medium rain, heavy rain, storm, customize as well, and you can also set the amount of variability you want, cloud cover, all those kinds of things. Grip level as well, so that's really cool. You can actually adjust the amount of grip that's available in the track immediately. So lots of stuff to dive into there to really fine-tune the experience to exactly how you want it to be. But we're going to start off with a clear session with transitioning weather. We'll hit the track in a McLaren at Spa, which is my favorite track in the universe. And let's start a session. Alright, so just quickly under setup as well, I do want to show you just the level of detail that you can really get into here with your setup. So pretty much the same sort of thing as iRacing, Assetto Corsa, you know, Race Room, all those kinds of titles. So you can adjust everything from tyre pressures, camber, caster, tow, electronics. You can adjust your traction control, ABS, ECU mapping as well. Now I'm not going to go into adjusting all of this stuff now because obviously I'm still a newbie at this and I don't really know what I'm doing with it yet, but we can definitely do some videos later on once I'm more familiar where we really start fine-tuning some of this detail. And a lot of you guys out there that are more familiar with car setups will be right at home with this stuff, but we can adjust fuel strategy, mechanical grip adjustments, dampers, aero, everything, and this is obviously going to have a massive impact on the handling of the vehicle. But anyway, I'm going to change into my racing boots now and we'll hit the track. Okay, so out on the track now, and unfortunately this is the point where I need to run you through a couple of the problems that you've probably already noticed from the rear camera showing behind my seat looking at the 3 screens. So the first issue here is the HUD. So you can see over here the HUD is sort of right over in the corner on either side, and there's no adjustment that I can find, at least currently, to bring that into the center screen. So basically the entire HUD is pretty much redundant when you're using a triple monitor setup, especially a really widescreen setup like this, because you literally can't see it without taking your eyes off the road and looking at the side. But that should be something that's really easy to fix. I know with F1 games, in particular Codemasters titles, you can move all that stuff around and it's very, very simple and straightforward. So that I don't see as being a major issue because it's something that I'm sure they'll fix up in a patch soon. But the big issue here is the field of view. So you can see here we've got that same sort of a distortion effect happening, wrapping around the screens like we have in the Codemasters games, so Dirt Rally 2 and F1 2018 currently. There's no proper adjustment for correcting that perspective. Now, there is an adjustment in here, and I'll quickly show you that now. If we go to View Settings, we do have a projection correction adjustment here. So we can go in pretty easily and fine tune all of these settings to get the perspective looking correct. But as we drive out, you'll see this in a moment. When we're driving, this center screen actually becomes really pixelated. So we'll drive out here.
Low tire pressure, stay clear of the curbs.
And you can see there, like it just looks really fuzzy and distorted compared to on the sides where it's really sharp. But then you look in the mirror and it just all looks washed out and fuzzy. And basically what's happening here is it's an effect where it actually kind of zooms in digitally on the middle of the screen and then distorts everything else, so it's bending everything sort of towards you. So it's like a big dome bending the perspective forward like that. So it's actually digitally zooming in on the image, which creates that sort of blurry effect there. So basically you've only got the choice between having that kind of effect going on, or we switch off the projection correction altogether. And you can see now the graphics look nice and sharp, but we've got that kind of distorted field of view going on. So what I've found is that if I zoom right in on my field of view, so I make it really, really tight, like that, and then move my distance back a little bit, that is kind of like the best compromise between the two. Now, because this is a limitation of the Unreal game engine, I'm really not sure if this is something that they're actually even going to be able to fix, but I'm quietly hopeful that they will. Alright, so we've got our view and everything all sorted out now. So what I'll do is I'll drive out, I'll just do a lap without saying anything so you guys can kind of get a feel of the sound and the vibrations and everything's shaking my voice there as I go over the bumps. We'll also fast forward through the pit section as well so you don't have to watch me go through the world's longest and slowest pit lane. Let's go. Maybe I could have got through there flat, I don't know. Ooh, a little bit wide. Okay, so what was the first thing that you guys noticed through that? The first thing that I noticed, well, obviously straight away, is the graphics, because the graphics are amazing. But the sound is absolutely outstanding. It's right up there with the quality of Race Room, which surprised me because Race Room is so much better than pretty much everything else. So yeah, definitely the sound stands out straight away. But the other thing that jumps out for me that you probably can't really see conveyed through the video is just the quality of the force feedback. Now, oh, as I lose it. Whoopsies. Okay, that was a little dramatic. Quality of the force feedback, crash. But actually that was probably a good example, because when the back of the car starts to break away, you really feel it progressively through the steering wheel. And the reason I didn't catch that was probably because I was distracted by what I was saying. But I'll try it again in this turn here. Try and get a little bit of a slide happening. You can kind of just catch it. It's hard to explain. This car has a lot of traction control, but as the back of the car moves around, as it's pivoting, you really feel it softly and progressively through the steering. Whereas what I found with iRacing in particular, now this might be something to do with my settings as well in iRacing, and I'm still sort of dialing things in, so I'm not trying to be critical of iRacing here, but what I'm finding is that as the car pivots around, it's really progressive through the steering wheel. One of the things I find with iRacing is that it tends to be a little bit robotic feeling in the force feedback, and even turning down the FEI setting on my Fanatec control menu thing, it still kind of has that slight robotic feel to it. Now, it's not enough to take away from the enjoyment of the game at all, but this just kind of feels like it's that next level of realism in terms of the force feedback. So it would be really interesting to see what this model feels like with slower cars that are more mechanical, because obviously these cars have got a lot of traction control and stuff like that happening, a lot of electronic balancing and, you know, weight distribution and torque vectoring, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it sort of probably feels a little bit less robotic, a little bit softer because of that as well. But once we get a little bit better at the game, it'd be good to sort of turn off some of those aids and stuff and sort of see how it feels for those things. But yeah, it's so nice to have a combination of the quality graphics, the awesome sound, the great force feedback, everything sort of all rolled into one. And it kind of feels like this is the first time that it's kind of all just come together. It feels like, iRacing's fantastic in that it just feels right straight out of the box. But obviously, it's a 10-year-old title now, 11-year-old title. so the graphics aren't necessarily fantastic. And then you got Race Room, which is very, very, very good, but again, starting to look a little bit dated. Whereas this is, you know, on point with the graphics. So obviously Project Cars as well, you know, looks great, fantastic, you know, looks fantastic visually, but then, you know, the force feedback modeling and everything, the car handling isn't quite there in terms of the realism, whereas this really hits the nail on the head in all respects. So it's just disappointing that there isn't the proper triple monitor screen, the proper triple monitor compatibility at the moment, because it is a big letdown in an otherwise very, very, very good title. But what I'll do now, I think, is I'll pull up here and we'll do a quick race to see what it's like driving with other cars. Okay, so let's go to we're not going to do an endurance race, but it's cool that those are there. We've got a 6-hour, 24-hour, as well as custom as well. So that's something that'll be fun to check out later on once I hit the gym. But so we're going to just do a 5-minute race. Now, you've got an opponent's skill and aggressiveness adjustment here, which is really cool because it means that you can adjust the aggression independently of how fast they are. So I'm going to go with 90 for my opponent's skill level and 75 for aggression. Opponent's skill goes from 80 to 100, and then opponent aggressiveness goes all the way from 0 to 100. So there's a lot of adaptability there that you can kind of dial in. Ready?
Green light, give it again.
Alright, not a bad start. Drop back a bit, but hopefully these guys fighting each other. Oh, we've got somebody right up our side here. Late on the brakes, cold brakes, blaming cold brakes and not my just terrible driving. Always blame the cold brakes, always blame the cold tyres. Is so cool. The concentration level you need is just off the scale. Even more so than F1 2018, which, because it's so fast, even though it's not the most realistic sim in the world, because it's so fast, you cannot break your concentration for a second. But this is, even with traction control on, which I do, obviously not the assist, but this car has traction control by default, but the concentration you need to just not run wide is crazy. Got a bit more speed than him. Let's see if we can get past. Oh. Did we get it? Where is he? He's on my inside still, I think. Oh, I think we got him. Nice. Thought I was going to get taken out for sure there. Plus points for the AI. Probably minus points for me for the aggressive move, but we got it done. Whoops, looks like somebody crashed behind me.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
Oh. No penalty? Maybe I've got some penalties switched off or something, but that's a little surprising. Definitely gained an advantage there. He's back behind me again. It looked like I saw a car spearing off into the distance, but maybe it was my imagination. Not too hot. I definitely feel like, was it 90 AI I set it to, is a challenge for me at the moment, that's for sure. But it's good. It's nice to not have the AI be like crazy fast in one section and then slow in another, which is often the case. It seems to be pretty consistent with my pace at the moment, which is good. The amount of traction control that's going on is crazy. I'm running, I don't have the assist on, but I am running, this car has factory traction control, so it's just running the OEM traction control here, but definitely once I get more confident, I'm keen to crank that down a bit because you can see how much it's kicking in and see how much the potential is there to really have to master the car. Whoa! I did it again. It's going to get past me this time, I'm sure. No, you don't. No, you don't. Oh, I can't block him. This is a workout. Terrible. We're going to get a run on me here. Maybe not. Okay, second place.
Excellent job, mate.
Not too bad. Now you can run a lot more cars than I was running there as well. I have to keep the number down while I'm recording because more than a few cars and it gets impossible to record with my 1080 Ti and 8086K. It just starts to get too choppy in the recording. But that was fun. That was crazy fun actually. So let's take a quick look at career mode now and see what we get in there. Podium. Yeah, boy. I look kind of upset. That's okay. Alright. So, career mode. We'll go new career. And we don't want gearbox or line turned on. I guess duration is the length of the career, I assume. I don't know. Other difficulty settings will be set later on in the career. Okay, let's go. Ooh, cutscene. Check this out.
Hi there, I'm Mirko Bortolotti, Lamborghini factory driver and 2017 Blancpain GT Series champion. Welcome to the career mode of Assetto Corsa Competizione, the official video
There you
game
go,
of
that's how you
Blancpain
pronounce
GT
it.
Series. You've been granted the access to the Lamborghini Youngster program at the legendary Temple of Speed of Monza. And you will be driving a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. This monster is not a plug-and-play experience, so we first need to verify if you really got what it takes for GT racing. You'll be asked to perform some simple and very basic tests like driving the car out of the pit lane, avoiding collisions with other drivers,
you can see him reading off the
staying within the
teleprompter.
track limits and bring the car back in one piece. Our race engineers will need to check your radio systems, tire temperatures and brakes, so be careful and remember, racing never starts from being fast, but from being safe and disciplined. After the first installation tests, the team will ask you to prove your skills with performance-focused tests. Be focused, don't overdrive, merge yourself with the car and do your best. The results will affect how good you will start your career, so that maybe some of the best teams will offer you a drive in the next Sprint Cup season.
Nice.
See you on track and good luck.
I feel like he just described everything that I do wrong. Trying to go slow and get used to the car rather than just drive the pants off it straight away is something that you guys have all been telling me in the comments I need to do more as well. So I'm working on it, but it's after driving so much F1, it's hard to not just sort of try to brake at the last moment and everything. Alright, part of the Lamborghini Squadra Corsa Youngster program. Okay, well, we'll just head out quickly. I think this is just going to be like a practice program type thing. We'll just have a quick look at it. But obviously, you get the idea. It runs you through various different programs, so you get you familiar with the car and actually being able to drive. Oh, that sounds nice.
Today, you are given a seat on the Lamborghini Huracan Super.
Okay.
Our team will look at your best lap on track in dry conditions. Complete at least 2 safe
we have to
event
do
laps and then start pushing.
2 safe laps, and then we can start pushing. So we'll just do a bit of a run here. I'm not going to make you guys watch me going around in circles for another 20 minutes, but this feels very different to the other car that I was just driving. I do like me some Monza. Oh, probably a little bit late on the brakes there. Yep. Alright, let's go slower. Let's be good. Do what we're told. Kind of want to do a drift though. Let's do it again. Alright. It's a bumpy track. Rattling the teeth. A little bit too soon there on the brakes. I think we'll just finish the lap and then we'll call it a day and summarise our feelings, I think. Oh, okay, we'll leave it at that for now, I think. Okay, so first impressions. Look, it's a mixed bag for me, honestly, because the fact that it's not supporting triple screens properly is a real, no, I wouldn't say a deal breaker, but it's a big letdown because, yeah, it's such an important thing to me in this. And the fact that a lot of people are saying online that VR support is not fantastic at the moment too is a real problem, especially when you got a high-end piece of software like this. It really does need to support those things to really be the best that it can be, I feel. But that said, it is very, very good, and I haven't actually tried VR myself, so I can't comment on that. I don't want to comment on that, but just be aware that there are a lot of people that are saying that there are problems with VR as well, similar to the effect that I was showing you earlier with the sort of distortion. They're saying in the distance things just look blurry, so hopefully the guys can get that sorted out. Being the Unreal Engine and its typical non-support for VR and triple screens and stuff like that, it could be tricky, but hopefully we'll see some solutions soon. But otherwise, I've got to say I absolutely love this title. As I was saying in the practice session, it's so nice to have something that sort of brings everything together. The sound quality is awesome, the graphics are awesome, the feedback's awesome. You know, everything is just kind of in the one place. So if it wasn't for those couple of little things that kind of break it for me, I think I would absolutely fall in love. But hopefully you guys have found this interesting and insightful. If you're thinking about getting the game, I don't want to sort of give it a rating out of 10 because I feel like, you know, with those couple of things that are holding it back, the rating's going to be lower than it probably deserves. But if you're running on a single screen, I'd say it's right up there with the best of the best. Wanting to run triple screens or VR, probably a little bit lower down, and maybe something you might want to sort of wait around for a little while to see if they fix those problems before you dive in. But otherwise, absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see where this takes us in the future. I think that this is a great platform for what we should see in the future for titles like Assetto Corsa, with a lot more tracks and a lot more versatility. Obviously, we're not going to mark this game down because it's not trying to be that versatile. It's obviously based around a particular series. But that said, it certainly is a bit of an insight into what we can hopefully look forward to in the future. So guys, hit the thumbs up button if you found this interesting and useful. Hit the thumbs down if you haven't liked it for some reason, but do let me know in the comments why as well so I can improve in the future. But thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.